Hi everybody, welcome to the 46th episode of Voice of Silence. Before starting today, I want to begin with a little story. So once upon a time, there was a little girl, her name was Pain. Pain, Pain. So she was going along on her path and she met a tiny human being and she said, hey, what's your name? So the tiny human being said, my name is Human. She said, my name is Pain. So Human said, oh, nice to meet you, Pain, what's up? So she's like, I'm surprised that you're asking me this question because I reside in you. I thought you know me. Human is like, no, I don't know you because I am made up of bones, muscles and blood and all of those things. No, brains and organs. There's no pain inside me. That's the thing. You think you're very smart, but you're not, dear Human, because you think whatever you can see is what is, but what you can't see is not. Human is like, sorry, you just lost me there. Pain is like, okay, well, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I actually, like you are made up of bones and stuff, I'm made up of emotion. So all the emotions that you know of, there are 6 of them. Which some scientists, there was a great scientist who said, okay, they are not 20, there are 7. And then the scientist said, they're not 7, there are 6. So I'm not going to waste your time with the ones that are, but there are 6. I'm made up of those. All of them together. And would you know, sometimes even happiness can bring pain. So I am a mix of those and I reside in you. So the Human is like, okay, this is making sense and not. She's like, let me explain further. Every time that you have pain, or let's not talk about pain, every time that your bone gets broken or your skin gets ruptured or there is a problem, you feel it, don't you? So the Human is like, yeah, I do. And then I take good care, and everybody around me also takes very good care. She's like, yeah, exactly. But what you can't see, sometimes does that hurt you? So the Human is like, yeah, it does, but I don't pay too much attention. She's like, yeah, exactly. That's what then I do, because here's a ball of you and this is me, little Pain, in that ball which is made of tin. And I'm a little tiny iron ball, and once you don't listen to me, dear Human, first I just start moving a little bit and you feel something is not okay, but you continue. But then, when you continue to ignore me, I don't like it. So then I start moving a little faster and harder inside you. But then you spend so many years, you go into decades and you just don't pay any heed to me. Then I get a little violent inside, then I thrash about. Then what happens is that the thing which you call bones, muscles, skin, general well-being and everything else that you love so much, that also gets attacked. So the Human is feeling like, shit, you may be right. So Pain is like, yeah, no, I am right. All I want from you, dear Human, is to just acknowledge me and please pay respect to me. And that is what Voice of Silence stands for, which is paying respect to pain. And on that note, we have a speaker today, Souniya Khurana, who's a 46th speaker, who I feel is, I used to feel I am that person, but I would give it away to her. She pays respect to pain, from whom even I can learn so much. So on that note, can we all give a big round of applause to Souniya Khurana? Thank you, Sonia. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this. And please, if you could just introduce yourself first.
Thank you firstly for beautifully sharing the pain that exists within all of us and all the emotions that make it. And thank you for having me here, Kanika, today, because I know that so many people, in fact, 45 humans who've been here before me and shared some very profound moments from their own lives has made a lot of impact to Voice of Silence. So I'm really honored to be here. And talking about me, I am an entrepreneur, but that's just one of the things that I am. Of course, I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, I am a team leader, I am so many things. But all of that apart, all of those identities apart, the person that I have become has everything to do with everything that I've experienced thus far, everything, the pain, the joy, the happiness, and something that I recently shared that was a moment of epiphany or an awareness that seeped in was the fact that हम जहाँ पे भी आज हैं, wherever we are today, is because of all the things that have happened in our lives. Yeah. So one way to look at those things, bitter, good, ugly, good, bad, ugly, is to say that, okay, okay, those things have happened, especially the bad and ugly things have happened. But the other is to really pay respect and gratitude to those moments because they made me who I am. They made me the person that I am today. And I feel very grateful for whatever's happened thus far. Whether it was growing up in a dysfunctional family as a kid and seeing through a lot of abuse and trauma growing up, uh, or to have a silent support system in my sister, or to live through those moments with a lot of silence, especially I think as an elder sibling, as an elder daughter, you end up carrying those emotions silently because you feel that around you everybody's in their own traumas and you don't want to add to that trauma or that layer of trauma for anybody else. So you grow up with the mechanism of saying that, okay, you know what, I'm independent. I know, you know what, I can deal with this myself. I continue to put that strong face, brave face, even till now. That's my mechanism. I try not to share the ugly, murky moments.
Yeah. And was there
Till
a
the
sense
time.
of responsibility also? Does that come automatically?
Unsaid.
Unsaid, no?
Unsaid and
Yeah.
owned without being bestowed that
Yeah.
responsibility.
Yeah. Not even told this is the R and
Yeah.
the E and the S and
Yeah.
the spelling of responsibility. This is what comes with it. This is what is not yours to take. Yeah. Do you think it is more prevalent in women and in India, or is it I know it's a general statement, but do you think, because I know you read a lot, so do you think it's also prevalent across the world for any girl or older child? Do you think it's only that, especially? I know, of course, others have it too, but do you think that is?
I think the elder siblings, especially women, because women, by nature or the way we are, we end up looking at what is happening around us and we end up choosing to say that, okay, you know what, I want to fix this situation.
Yep.
And the elder one always chooses to in order to not only protect the family but also to protect the younger ones,
Yeah.
chooses to take on that unsaid responsibility. And I would believe that this is not just in India, but this must be
It's a
prevalent
human.
across. It's a human
I feel it's
thing.
a human trait, not so much
Yeah.
cultural
Yeah.
or nation
Yeah.
dependent. So let's rewind back a little because I know where you're coming from, but a lot of people here may not, and especially the ones watching online. Can you take us through your childhood so that we understand it better?
Yeah.
And you know why I do this with every speaker is, of course, for your story to come out, but also I know that a lot of our stories in the world do juxtapose themselves on each other. I'm sure there is something that happened with you which chotu, but maybe identical in my life, even if it is tiny, not the whole life. Then you take away, oh, okay, I'm not alone. So like that. That's why if you could take us through your childhood.
So, like I shared, grew up in a dysfunctional family, and dysfunctional why? Because my dad had a second marriage with my mom, and which, again, if they knew better, they'd do better. But that is something that I understand now. And growing up, always saw a lot of violence. Growing up, I don't remember a single day in my childhood जो I could recollect was moment of joy that we spent as a family together. Those are not the memories that I've built because there was so much stress throughout. I remember most of the exams that we gave, there was always this constant bitterness. There was always this constant stress and trauma that everybody was undergoing because of what my parents were living through, and they didn't know how to deal with it. They ended up doing whatever fights, whatever challenges they were dealing with, that unfolded amongst both of us, both me and my sister. And then to add to that, there was another layer of the financial trauma, because my dad had to support 2 families,
Yeah.
and the other family had 3 children who were also growing up, who were also going through their education. Eventually, being the elder ones, they also had marriage that they had to, weddings that they had. Like my father was responsible for getting them married, so he chose to. Again, he didn't know any better. He ended up whatever assets that he had collected for our family, he ended up disposing those in order to fulfill his responsibilities there. Which again led to a lot of stress and trauma between our parents, a lot of conflict between my mother and my father, because my mother would obviously not feel that this was just. And
how soon were you and your sister aware of this? And the awareness that, okay, this is going on, and when you did get aware that this is what's happening, what was your reaction, or what was your feeling towards your, I would say, step brothers, step siblings, they'll be called in this case? How did you feel? Independently, or were you under what your mother felt, which is usually, even it's unsaid, but the mother's feelings get transferred onto the children. How was that like?
Of course, that deeply impacted us, and especially me. I still remember there was a day when I was filled with so much rage and anger. I still remember engraving onto my bedroom wall, "I hate my father," like I hate Papa. Because that feeling and that emotion, of course, translated into the fact that doesn't he care for us? Do we not matter? And the fact that there was this constant conflict at home. The other thing that I felt, and certainly my sister also must have felt that way, was that do they not care about us collectively? And going back to school, every morning with again that feeling of
sense of
not feeling light, not feeling happy. School turned out to be an escape, but as a 10-11-year-old, again, when I was in my 6th grade, because I failed in my 6th grade, and my parents chose to see that, okay, maybe the best way out here is to get her to repeat her 6th grade. They didn't involve me in the decision making. They felt this is the right decision. Again, I give them the credit that what they chose maybe was the right thing, but I didn't understand it back then. And I was just a 10-11-year-old girl. And that again made me see, one, I felt that I'm a failure. I felt that my parents don't understand me, and I didn't feel loved. One, for the sense of conflict and the fact that there was every day so much trauma to deal with, and then failing and then not being seen as somebody who's good enough, somebody who's not understood, not respected. I felt that I'm not even loved by my parents. I felt that now I'll be sitting with a great junior than me. I felt that I don't belong here. All of those things again created a lot of fear, a lot of insecurity, a lot of sense of worthlessness, not seeing yourself as worthy of being who you are.
That's a tough one. And what I want to ask you is, in the profession that I've chosen now, which is in the space of mental health, and I speak to parents, sometimes I see parents dismissing their child's emotions. And I feel, they talk about 7 sins. For me, the biggest sin is when you dismiss a tiny human's emotions. I feel they are far more real than adults, because adults still have stories and memories like khichdi. So that's my personal belief, because in my childhood also, pretty much all my emotions have been dismissed, and that's my story, right? So my question to you is that when you speak about feeling like a failure and feeling worthless, how real were they then?
One, I can put words to it now, Kanika. I didn't know these words back then.
Yeah, that's true. But that feeling, it was real.
It was real.
It was very real.
All I wanted to was just hide.
Just hide. Because
I didn't want to confront the world. And I still remember, I talked about the financial trauma. There was one day when it was so bad that our dad we could not as a family, as a unit, have enough money to be able to pay off the rent for our homes, for the place that we were staying in, that we called home, for the longest of times. And I still remember that day very clearly. It's still visually so clear to me. The landlord came, got the order to get our house vacated. All our belongings, everything was on the road, just outside our home. And my home was on the main road. It was where the bus stop was. It was where the school bus stopped.
That's horrifying.
And to at that point in time see, okay, अभी 2 बजे ना school bus आने वाली है, घर का सारा सामान बाहर है. I don't want to be seen as somebody who's been thrown out of the house. It was not my fault. But
that's for later. The feeling is real.
The feeling at that point in time
point is real.
I want to hide.
Yeah.
I don't want the world to know this now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was tough to live with.
I can't even imagine.
Going back into the school bus after that, of course, we moved from that sector to another sector altogether. So that was a relief. That now I'm not in the same school bus with the same people, but yes, I have to meet these people in the school. So कहीं ना कहीं माइंड में एक ये भी था कि अच्छा अभी तक तो आप फेलियर थे, अब आप घर से भी निकाले जा चुके हो, तो people will see you as you don't even have enough resources, you're not able to live, your parents are not able to provide for you. And as kids आपको नहीं पता इन सब चीज़ों से कैसे डील करना है,
नहीं पता,
और आपके बारे में कौन क्या बोल रहा है. You know what people are saying about you, whether or not, even if they're saying things about you, you always think that they're talking behind my back. ठीक है, ये तो this is something that we deal with even as adults. But as kids, we don't have the means to understand how to see and discern कि, or how to detach yourself from these things. वो means होता ही नहीं है.
It's not possible. And at this point, what I would like to tell everybody, and again, this is something I have chanced upon. I've been running away from it, that I don't care what other people think. But I've realized I do. And I'm not going to start saying things like, I don't want to care about what other people think. Because I feel that even if I live in my own home and don't meet anybody, still, because we are humans and we are social, that's a need. It's not a construct. It is a need. All of us are doing something in relation with another human being. Minimum one. तो let's say मैं केव में रह रही हूँ और मैं कहीं से तो आई हूँ, तो nothing else मेरी माँ तो है. Even if nothing else, if I'm in a cave, I've come from some human. So that means there is a bond. That means I will care about what my mother thinks. So for me to say that I want to get to a place where I don't care about what anybody thinks, at least today when I sit in front of you, I feel that is a lie. I am telling you as Kanika that I do care what people think. अब उसमें intensity होती है कि आप किस level तक जाओगे, किस उस तक जाओगे. And to be very honest, another confession is I'm stopping to care, to judge people who will go to X limit to think about what other people think. That I've dropped. That bhaiya, I don't understand why some people are doing something for others' validation, their story. You know, I might be doing lesser, but फिर भी कर रही हूँ, तो कोई फर्क नहीं है. Everybody cares about what other people think, and I feel I want to drop that. And why I'm saying this is because Sonia just brought about a point. बच्चों को क्या पता होता है यार? और दूसरी चीज़ भी है कि बच्चों को भी लगता है कि वो क्या सोच रहे हैं. That means उससे बड़ा सच तो है ही नहीं. तो हम adulthood में आके क्यों ये try करते रहते stupid things of let's try and not care about what other people think. Because I feel what children feel is the truest. They are not adults. You know, so thank you first of all for, you know, being so vulnerable and open and sharing. And Sonia, I agree with you, because you and I have a bit of commonality in terms of the practices we've done also, which we'll come to. हम कर लेंगे सब, लेकिन जो wound है ना यार, वो खत्म नहीं हो सकता and ना होना चाहिए. I feel because that's what makes us humans.
Yeah.
So thank you for bringing that out and being so vulnerable. And I'm sorry it happened. but I'm also glad somewhere it did,
Yeah.
because that's who, like,
Yeah.
you started with that. That's
Yeah.
what makes you who you are.
Yeah.
Please continue
Yeah.
and tell us then. And usse pehle a question then is, while all this was going on, and today when you look back in hindsight, is there anything you would have wanted at that time कि काश ये हुआ होता? Let's say if some child today is going through, maybe failure is such a shit word. I don't like using this word, but there is no other word, you know, कि class में fail होगा, really failure. But because I can't say, so let's say a child is held back in class, you know. So is there something, because you were held back, that you would like to tell the parents, oh, कि यार ये भी कर सकते हैं?
Yeah.
Something that you would have wanted for yourself.
So I feel that, like I said, you know, if they knew better, they'd do better. The question that you asked me, कि यार, what could have happened differently and what would have made the situation maybe better, or that you wish could have happened, is that I really wish my parents and the teachers around me and people around me, adults especially, were equipped with the right tools to help a kid who's failed acknowledge that it's all right to fail. It's okay. It's a part of the journey. You know, something I love sharing, even when I talk and share things, especially when it comes to college students and students, is that, you know, do you remember the first time each one of us failed? Everyone, each one of us, the moment of failure for each one of us was the same. You know, when we tried to walk. You know, when we tried to walk, we stumbled, we fell, we bruised ourselves, and in that process, people around us, the parents or adults around us, just came and, okay, you know what, it's okay, it's all right,
Yeah.
get better, you'll be fine, or they'll just pick you up, they'll get you back on your feet. They don't make you feel bad about falling at that point in time.
Strange, no?
But as we grow up, unfortunately so, when we fall, it is looked down upon. People don't cheer you up, that it's all right, it's a part of the journey. तो वो जो process तब था जब आप बच्चे थे, जब आप चलना सीख रहे थे, अगर वही process replicate किया जाए throughout your life stages when you're falling and failing, how much better would it be as the world, you know, as the world would be so much better a place to live in.
And I feel उस टाइम पे सबसे ज़्यादा प्यार चाहिए होता है.
उस टाइम पे सबसे ज़्यादा प्यार से ज़्यादा शायद से एक acknowledgement चाहिए होता है, एक validation चाहिए होता है, एक sense of
it's all okay,
एक sense of certainty चाहिए होती है that, you know, it's all right.
सब ठीक हो जाएगा.
Correct.
Somebody to tell you that.
Exactly.
तब सबसे ज़्यादा चाहिए होता है.
Exactly.
It's just strange.
And I wish they had that at that point in time, but it's okay they didn't, because maybe I wouldn't know it now if they did.
Yeah, that's true. That's your story.
Yeah.
That is Souniya's story.
Yeah.
Exactly my point.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, the intent here is that sometimes when people are going through this right now, I mean, she's crossed it, but why do you have to repeat those? आपके नए experiences होंगे, आप tension मत लीजिए. ऐसा नहीं है कि हम कहीं से कुछ learn करेंगे तो pain free existence होगा. So we'll have new ones, but we're learning, I think, from each other.
Yeah.
Souniya, moving ahead, there was a horrifying experience.
Yeah.
You want to take us through that and the effect that it had on you?
Yeah. 2006, February, 5th February 2006. Is when I lost my elder brother, my first cousin, and he was supposed to come to my birthday on 7th of Feb. 6th of Feb, 5th Feb, he just left from home at night, and 6th Feb, my Masi, my mama, my uncle, my cousin sister, everybody's trying to look for him. We have no clue about his whereabouts. He left his phone, wallet, everything at home. The next morning, we just get to know that a body has been found on the railway tracks. I'm sorry, I'll be very graphic here, but without any clothes on. And when we got to know this, and the clothes were with the railway police officers, we couldn't, just by the visuals of the clothes that were explained in that newspaper piece of that short piece on the newspaper is what made us feel that maybe it's him. And we went to identify. It turned out to be him. We'd lost my brother. It was I wish nobody gets to go through something like this, but he was supposed to be there with me on my birthday, but he couldn't make it. And it was a brutal murder. We knew, we had an inkling how and who has done it, but all the years of fighting through it, being covered in the national media, to trying for justice and not getting through justice because people involved were connected in power, and eventually it came around the fact that it was ruled out, a murder was ruled out, and it was labeled as a suicide. To live with that and to lose an elder sibling who was very close, he was 3 years elder to me. It was tough. And I didn't realize the extent of damage it had done to me internally. I didn't realize that until many years later, when I went through Vipassana, but we'll come to that eventually. But when such things happen, and something like that happening to you, it makes you question everything. It makes you feel that, what had he done? Yeah. Right? And the anger, the rage, the trust issues that it developed within, I didn't even know.
Yeah.
It took a lot of work to get there and to see that, okay, this is the impact that it has left. It shook us as a family. Yeah.
That I honestly don't know how to react to this and what to say. When I heard about it from her, I had no idea. And I respect the fact that for anybody who's watching, her sister has also come here earlier, but I didn't know through her, and I respect that she chose not to say it. I'm now understanding a few things about my speakers also. It's a long journey. When you start to listen to other people's stories, they say empathy. A lot of people call me an empath, by the way. And here's another confession and admission. I'm also growing, and I'm also shedding my old skin. And I realized that my empathy earlier was misplaced, but with each, it was misplaced in terms of I was finding my own balm or healing through other people. So I was crying for myself actually. But today, at least that bit I feel is fading, because her sister did not tell me and she's telling me, and it's hit me in places where I don't even know how to react. All I'm doing is just maybe feeling her current pain. It's very important to say current. I don't even know, and because nothing of this sort has happened to me.
Yeah.
So I don't know what to say to it except that जो रह जाते हैं पीछे, they are left to literally pick up the pieces, and maybe that's the way it is meant to be. That's why somebody left and somebody was left back, so, and that's why maybe you've been on this path, which is, god damn it, it's a difficult path daily, Sonia, daily. I know that. Daily you fight your demons. Daily you want to go back to being blind and sleep through life.
Yeah.
So again, all I can say that it was tragic and horrifying, and I can't say anything else there. And I just wish you some strength, that you and Jahanvi and everybody in the family find it one day to make it a tiny pain flower and just let it blossom, but let it not take over, and give it its due throughout your life with tears. Yeah. So I know that after that you moved to the practice of Buddhism. Take us through that. How did it help, and why did you do it?
So, when I was living through all this pain, and my sister also was, and the constant, even then, while all of this had happened, it's not that my parents had evolved. They were still continuing to fight their demons. They were still under that continuous trauma and stress within their own lives because their situation hadn't changed. And that made me want to look at an escape. That made me want to look for something that could help me seek some kind of solace somewhere or make me feel that, okay, कुछ है, एक hope है. ये सब हो रहा है, पर शायद से अभी भी the world is not that bad a place to live in. Maybe there's still some hope that I can latch on to. Everybody, when you are in the midst of that slime and mud, जब आप दलदल में होते हो, आप you're constantly just trying to come out of it.
Breathe.
And you just want that one hand to get you out of it. I wanted that one hand to get me out of all that sense of pain that I was living with at that point in time. 2000, this must be, so 2007 I passed out of school, I went into college, and I remember between 2007 to 2010, one of the years, one of my college mates who came to stay with me during the course of examinations, one fine evening she just sat on to chant Namyo Ho Renge Kyo, and she sat on to do her prayers. And I always sensed a peace, an aura in her that made me feel connected, that made me feel I want to be around her. And it was just one fine day that she did this, and the next morning I asked her, okay, so I saw you, practicing something, what is it? Made me curious. And she told me about the practice. ठीक है, just that got registered, and I moved on. And then soon after we were out of college, or I think just while we were still in college but about to end college, is when I said, I want to understand more about this faith and practice that you are on to. So she said, why don't you come and attend a meeting? I went and attended a meeting in Malviya Nagar. I found this vibrant community who was just cheering each other, who were like happy, who were lively, and that hollowness within me wanted that peace, wanted that joy, wanted that vibrance, wanted that sense of community and belonging, because I was still battling all those fears, the fear of not belonging, the fear of not being loved, the fear of not being good enough. I was still battling all those even then. They had not gone anywhere. वो बस ये था कि हाँ, in the whole hustle and bustle of living like a college youth, of course that got subsided. I'd created a new identity, I'd made new friends, I was not anymore attached to the identity I had in school. I was creating a new self story. So those fears had subsided. It like a rim of paper that keeps on piling. वो कहीं ना कहीं नीचे चले गए थे. That pain of losing a elder sibling, an elder brother, वो भी नीचे कहीं subside हो गया. तो खत्म नहीं हुआ था. Those rotten papers were still there somewhere. So this community made me feel that, okay, you know what? I need this right now. I want to latch on to this joy right now. And then my parents were still in Faridabad. My sister was still in Faridabad. I was staying in a PG in Delhi. After college, shifted back to Faridabad, got connected to the members and practitioners in Faridabad, and started experiencing joy, started experiencing happiness. And there were new people I could share my story with who also had their pains. Those meetings also had people sharing their stories and saying that I have come from pain to positivity like this through this practice. And that made me feel I'm not alone. Other people are also going through a lot of trauma.
Yeah.
The moment you see that you're not alone in your journey and there are other people who are also similarly battling their own demons and traumas, you feel a sense of security, you feel a sense of not battling this all by yourself. So that practice, I think, made me feel a lot more at peace with the fact that it's all right. Whatever you're going through is probably something that everybody else is also dealing with in their own situations, in their own ways. So it's all right. But the bitterness within was still something that was visible to the family. So it took me, I think, 2 years of continuous practice that made my sister see, okay, something has shifted. Maybe I want to also see this joy. And she also then started practicing. But eventually I felt that this practice was making me look at a lot of external things. But internally I was still not able to heal those darker moments that I had lived with. And then I remember one of the days when we moved to Gurgaon, I remember I was reading a book from this practice, and I remember a lady, an elderly lady sitting right next to me. And she said that, okay, what are you reading? I said, this is a book that this is from my Buddhist practice and we read this. Like, okay, have you heard about Vipassana? No, I've never heard of Vipassana. She told me you should look it up. So this must be 2014. A seed of something new got registered and the seeker within wanted to know more. Cut to 2018. That's when I first did Vipassana, and that's when the moment of enlightenment and the moment of healing from the loss of my elder brother's life came in.
Yeah, it starts.
That's where on the second day of Vipassana, I got to know this, that so Goenka ji, who's the one who has got the practice of Vipassana, he talks about the fact that jo bhi, any life who takes away anybody else's life. So he talks about the fact कि आप अगर सोचो कि किसी ने भी अगर किसी को हार्म किया है, जो किसी का कोई मर्डर करता है या कोई भी ऐसे घिनौने या गलत काम करता है, उनकी लाइफ स्टेट क्या होगी? What must be their life state?
To provoke them to do that.
To be able to take away another life.
Yeah, that's them.
I think that second day, I remember I cried and I howled through that meditation, through that practice, because I could not control what was coming within. The fact that, one, my brother was lost, but the lives who took away that innocent life, what must have been their life state? What must have they gone through to be able to do something
that level,
as heinous as taking away another life?
Yeah.
And I was welling forth with a lot of compassion. I was like, यार उनकी life में ऐसा क्या हुआ होगा जो they could do this? They must have been felt so unloved. They must have felt so much hatred, so much rage, and may no human go through this.
Yeah.
A sea of peace is what came through that day to me. And I've never looked back.
Thank God for that. And we share something here. We of course share the practice. Voice of Silence began after I did my practice, because that's another story. But the thing that she's speaking about, that day I had actually, the same day, what she's saying, the thing that had come into my head on my second day of this practice was, this may sound very crude to everybody, but even I'm starting to own my truth finally after turning 43. Rape is something that I have, वो आपको ना ऐसे, it makes the body, because I'm from Delhi, not that, other women also go through everything, but Delhi, like they say, is the rape capital of this country. And all girls who studied in Delhi or have been brought up in North India, let's say, have been groped or misbehaved with or molested, and I've had my share of enough sexual abuse in my life. So you can imagine what I feel about rapists, right? All women do, we all do. And in my life, I had this hate is a very small, it's a very, very tiny word. There's no word for that, for rapists, the feel that I used to have for them, that they are those kind of people and the kind of punishments I used to think in my head कि ये होना चाहिए, उनके साथ ये होना चाहिए, up till I went for my Vipassana practice. When that happened, the same thing came to my mind, that not specially, they do it to any age, but you hear of little children, little girls. I mean, not that it makes it better or worse, but my point is that this came to my head then, which is why I started this. That one day I want to be able to look a rapist in the eye through Voice of Silence and ask them, maybe they're serving their time, maybe I go to jail where they are serving their time or whatever, and be able to ask them, क्या हुआ है आपके साथ, आपको क्या बिल्कुल प्यार नहीं मिला है, क्योंकि वही है, सी प्यार ही at the end of the day, we all are just भूखा for प्यार, and that's the end of it and the start of it, और कुछ है नहीं, कुछ नहीं और nothing else. So when you don't get that, and of course a lot of other mixtures of things, that you'll get down to this level, that you will rape another human being, and rape is of all kinds, not just physical. People rape everybody every day in a lot of ways. So you get down to that level where you strip somebody of their dignity, but you're also a human being. And please, in no way am I saying that nahi, please understand, if you can, that like she just said, there is compassion in my heart today for people who commit these crimes. Compassion does not mean allow them to be scot-free. No, there's a difference. Compassion, that I wish I could speak to some of these people for the simple reason that I could share their pain and their knowledge with the world through Voice of Silence, their voice of silence. ऐसा क्या हुआ यार तुम्हारे साथ कि तुमने ये काम कर लिया, so that और कोई ना करे. That's the whole point, and I think that's the point that she's trying to make. That's the commonality I was talking about. So thank you so much for that. And I know that you've done another one recently.
Yes, I just came back from Vipassana again in February. That was my gift to myself for this birthday. And I think every time I come back, there's a part of me that heals.
Yeah.
Because whatever it is, one, of course, the fact that from a toddler to growing up to not having those tools to deal with all that sits within, all the trauma and the pain that sits within, to not be able to deal with it for so many years until your adulthood, and then finally be able to find and equip yourself with that tool that says that, okay, you can look within, you can spend that time with yourself in solitude, and find that you can fill up your cup. One thing that I missed mentioning was 2016. Again, I was dealing with, because of all these traumas, again ended up going into bad relationships one after another, क्योंकि अंदर से तो कप खाली था, अंदर से तो I was all empty and broken. So I used to continue finding that sense of validation from people around me, and that used to be series of bad relationships. And I remember, one day somebody asked me ki, so how many people have you dated? And I was like, very proudly, I've dated 18 men. I used to wear that on my sleeve ki ha, big deal.
We share that too. And somebody then had told me, oh, so 18 till I die. I'm telling you, we share that too.
Yeah. There's a reason we're having this conversation. But 2016, I remember, I was so broken. One, there was again a conflict at home, and I could not breathe. घर पे ना सांस नहीं ली जाती थी. And I called up a friend and I said, I don't know, I don't know how to deal with this. And she said, why don't you speak to this woman? She's a life coach and she's a healer. I said, okay. बात करते whatever modalities she used. Towards the closing of that call, she just said that, Sonia, are you trying to fill other people's life with love from an empty cup? That was like, oh, Mentos moment. Like, oh, दिमाग की बत्ती जली moment.
Yeah.
कि हाँ, this is what I'm trying to do. अंदर तो सब खाली है, अंदर तो कुछ भी नहीं है. So what am I filling up people's life with? And that was also the time I started questioning my own Buddhist practice at that point in time, because I was trying to visit so many people, inspire people and do so many things, but internally I was all empty. It was vacant. कुछ भी नहीं था अंदर.
Yeah.
There was no love for myself. There was only rage, there was only hatred, there was only anger. And there was anger for people around me, my family. There was anger for those people who had committed that crime to my brother. And I was trying to fill up other lives. So what was I trying to do? It was like, and I also remember one day what had made me so angry was this business, in the company that I was working at, this mentor slash business coach who was doing sessions for us as a team. He said that, do you think you are like a dunk cake covered with icing? Don't you think that? That made me very angry, because he showed me the mirror.
Wow.
Maybe it was the wrong statement to make.
It's wrong, but the statement is very personal and very wrong. But I'm sure it did its job though.
But it made me very angry.
Yeah.
My ego got stabbed, because I was trying to portray to the world a very different person that I am. And he says that I'm a dunk cake layered with icing. I was like, उस मोमेंट में ना वो एक मिरर भी था, बट उस टाइम पे वो मिरर मैं देखना नहीं चाहती थी. And all of these things, then my coach telling me कि you are empty from within, that made me start feeling that why am I empty? What is happening here? That made me start reflecting on my life, that there's something that is not right.
The why.
कुछ तो है.
The why.
कुछ तो है that I need to solve, because I'm not at peace with myself. I'm not happy. I am trying to portray a very different picture, but this is not who I am actually within. I'm not feeling that. It's an irony that internally I'm completely chaotic, and outside to the world I'm trying to show something completely different. Even if it is a Buddhist practice that's making me portray that person, but that's not connecting. This is something that's not resonating. Vipassana sorted that out, but year after year, I have been only able to heal whatever happens in that moment, whatever trauma because every day there's something that we are battling.
Yes.
You don't achieve enlightenment just by one Vipassana or just by one practice, whatever it is for you. So year on year, I've made this a thing for my pact with myself that I will go for Vipassana, because there's so much that I'm dealing with. There's so much self-story that I create with every incident that I happen to go through. And when people try to tell me something, I might not be able to detach myself from what is the input that I get. So I need to let that heal. I need to allow myself that space of solitude to go within and say that, ठीक है, this is what has happened. This is the story that I'm creating. And none of this is permanent.
Yeah.
So, been through all of this, even the loss of my grandmother 3 years ago had me see my mom in a very different light. I had a lot of negative emotions that I'd created against my mom, because their relationship, my mom and my grandmom's relationship, was also not good. So I saw her in a bad light, and Vipassana made me heal from that as well.
Yeah.
And it has allowed me space for people. It has allowed me to create boundary for myself. It has allowed me to create boundary for people around me, and also see them as humans, also be compassionate at the same time. So that's been the practice of Vipassana for me.
That's amazing. It's like I said, there'll be a lot to learn from you today. When I'll be, I told I'd had that instinct, that some things are going to come out that will be lifelong ready reckoners. ready reckoner moments. So, you say that you're the voice of self-love. That'll be the final. I mean, get to that. But before that, I have a question after which you can answer, because that's the voice of self-love is your voice of silence. We will end with that. But before that, a very big question, because, there was a friend of mine some time ago. That friend is no longer a friend. But they had actually told me that, Kanika, and you know what your problem is? So I was like, yeah, that whether you're okay or you're not okay, you're working on yourself.
Yeah.
And I was like, एक वो होता है ना कि और भी कुछ है क्या, कुछ और भी करना होता है, और क्या करना है, वही नहीं करना है. So yeah, I do work on myself. I think that's all I do.
Yeah.
And I see the same thing in you. I don't want to be the person here telling people why they should, but I want to ask you this before you answer the voice of self-love, that in your personal and professional space, you, a person who's been through so much, which a lot of people have to, a lot of people go through things, but they go blindly. You chose to look at them, that let's turn around. Yeah, okay, so now you're going to stab me.
Yeah.
You as in the experience, the pain of, loss and betrayal, everything actually. Failure, in her words, failure, judgment, everything. That, okay, this is that, the loss, the anger of losing my brother. ये आप ऐसे बैठे होगे, yeah, hit me now, right? ये बहुत कम लोगों में होता है, बहुत कम लोगों में. Most people are like, चलो यार ये life है यार, इसको side पे, just put it in the library. That's how most people operate, and unfortunately those are the people, sorry to say, but who are creating trouble for other people. Okay, now you chose to look at it. Please help us understand, what does it do? Like, if somebody wants to know, ये क्यों करते हो? So what will your answer be, and how is it affecting you positively in your personal and professional life?
So I believe we all have a self story, and when the self story can be created in many ways. कि ठीक है, आपकी life में scene, there's something that has happened in your life. If you were to draw a Venn diagram of whatever's happened in your life, there are the facts, and then there's a story that we create around all of that. And when these two circles meet, the intersection is the beliefs that are created. So one is that out of the facts, I can create a self story which is empowering, or I can say that, okay, I can continue to put those stories and say that, okay, इसको जो अच्छा नहीं लग रहा उसको under the rug करो, उसको एक बस्ते में बंद करो, नहीं देखो. And that will only make you, either you'll be toxic in a very negative way, or you'll be toxic in a very positive way.
Yes.
Because you're continuing to shove away what has really been the experience. You're continuing to, and I've been there. मैंने वो भी करके देख लिया ना, उससे क्या हुआ, उससे मैं ही toxic हुई. Until I started seeing, again, I thank my Vipassana practice because it helped me see through a lot of things. I thank a lot of people who helped me, who, even if it was a bitter pill to swallow for me, who said things that did not go down well at that point in time, but now that I reflect back and connect those dots, make me feel कि ठीक है यार, उसने जो ये कहा था उस टाइम पे बहुत चुभा था. It felt really bad, but maybe उन्होंने कुछ ऐसा देखा जो कहीं ना कहीं तो हिट किया ना कहीं आज मैं देखती हूँ तो हाँ यही तो कर रही थी मैं. So if I would not have acknowledged all that happened and say हाँ ये हुआ है, and this is the person that it made me, but I want to work on it. I don't want to be bitter, because that bitterness is not helping me. वो bitterness शायद से मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि हाँ वो मुझे उस टाइम पे उस circumstance में it makes me, that bitterness and that pain makes me see the other person in the bad light and makes me feel that I've been the victim.
Yeah.
But it's actually the other way around. I'm not the victim. I'm choosing to
burn
myself. I'm choosing that toxicity to kill myself from within and continue to feel hollow and not at peace with myself.
Yeah.
So it's not helping me, and the other person is not even getting bothered by it.
Yeah.
So who is it really rotting? It's rotting me from within. And when I chose to deal with it, the moment things started, when practice started making me see that, okay, these are things I want to heal from, this is what has happened, and I can choose. The power of choice is within me, that I can choose to let go, I can choose to forgive. I can still create those boundaries if people make me see or give me an input that makes me see my self story as again not good enough. I can create that boundary. Because आपको लोग input तो देते रहेंगे, वो आप रोक नहीं सकते हो.
That's not out of
People will continue creating those traumatic experiences for you. Your situations will continue to create those experiences with you, which will not feel pleasant. But can you detach yourself?
Yeah.
I chose to detach myself and create that boundary. Okay, this has happened, but within this, I want to still fill it with love. I want to still be flowing with compassion. I still want to be saying that, okay, you've said this or this has happened, but I forgive you, or I choose to see the human and the person in you, which is still
flawed,
which is human.
You can't help yourself. It's cool.
So I've been able to create a self story that empowers me.
And that's the self-love?
And that's self-love.
That's amazing.
Whether it comes in the form of caring for myself and choosing myself when I go for my fitness regime, continuing to be disciplined about it, or whether it is when I'm not able to go for it, or when I'm not able to do things that fill my cup, but saying that it's okay, nahi ho paya, koi baat nahi, it's okay, you don't have to beat yourself up. That's also self-love.
That's also self-love. I've realized it very recently.
Yeah. When people say things or do things around you which make you feel not at peace, choosing to say that, theek hai, you said what you have said, or you're doing what you're doing, I choose to move away. I choose to not indulge in it.
Not engage.
Not engage in it or make me a part of that story. Choosing to just disengage and create that boundary is also self-love.
Yep.
So, I think those moments have truly helped me say that choose yourself every day. And in doing so is when you'll be able to radiate that light to others as well, and to say that it's okay, we're all humans, we're not equipped with that. I wish our education system was such that it taught self-love, it taught the art of choosing yourself instead of the theoretical stuff that we go through, because that will create a very healed and a better world to live in. But when you get aware of these tools, I think it's important to say that कोई बात नहीं, जो हुआ है वो हुआ है. आज I want to choose myself. I want to say that I love myself, and that's been a beautiful journey for whatever it has given me.
Thank you so much. Any one last sentence that you want to tell the world?
I think I'll quote something that I read in this book, Women Who Run with the Wolves. It's something that came to me today morning. क्योंकि हम solitude को और being all by ourselves, we look at it in a very it seems tough to stay with all by yourself. लगता है कि we are all social beings, हम अकेले कैसे रह सकते हैं. But this book just did justice to the word alone. So it says, long ago the word alone was treated as two words, all one. To be all one meant to be wholly one, to be in oneness either essentially or temporarily. That is precisely the goal of solitude, to be all one. It is the cure for the frazzled state, so common to modern women especially, the one that makes her, as the old saying goes, leap onto her horse and ride off in all directions. And solitude is not an absence of energy or action, as some believe, but is rather a boon of wild provisions transmitted to us from the soul. So I feel that the best way to choose to love yourself is to choose to be also all one, to be by yourself, to choose solitude, to choose to go within, whether it is while you go for a run, whether it is to go into meditation, whether it is choosing art that you have beautifully put across in this cafe of yours, whether it is having those conversations yet letting that seep in at a later point in time.
Yep.
So you choose how you be all one with yourself, but choose that nonetheless.
Thank you, Sonia. Thank you so much. It was amazing. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Thank you. Wow.